Mavericks just came off a huge, I guess you would say, an emotional win because everyone predicted the Suns. I mean, other outside of Dallas, no one was picking the Mavericks.
Right.
I don't believe that at all. But I mean, unfortunately, Chris Paul kind of fell apart. Devin Booker had an awful Game 7.
Yeah.
And DeAndre Ayton was kind of a no-show all series. So it was kind of like just. I feel like more people were just like in shock and awe of what just happened. You know, good for the Mavericks to come out on top here. But now coming into the Warriors again, if you were a betting man, I would have put a lot of money on the Warriors. Now you would probably not get a lot back because I do believe the Warriors were the favorite to win Game 1. I don't think that was kind of a secret,
right?
You know, but boy, the Warriors. I mean, maybe it was because they were well rested, but I don't remember seeing them miss.
Yeah,
It was Steph Curry in the third quarter. I watched all of the third quarter, and holy cow, he was ridiculous. I mean, he was just everywhere. And then Klay Thompson had a real quiet night. He was coming up big. I mean, every time I looked at his name, he was hitting shots like crazy, and I was like, "Good Lord, dude! Like, settle down. Don't kill him. Don't kill him all at once." But yeah, I thought that, you know, Steph Curry would kind of step up a little bit more because a lot of people were saying, and even me, I'll admit, it wasn't a great series for Steph Curry against the Grizzlies. But he still was getting what he needed to get done. I mean, it wasn't like he was just absolute trash. But it was kind of interesting. I will say that it kind of seemed like he was starting to get a little old. I feel like that was a lot of talk with Steph Curry, and now in this game he put up 21 points and was like, "Okay, I'm done. That's all I needed." You know, Andrew Wiggins had 19. Jordan Poole had a quiet 19. You know, Klay Thompson, he had 15, but I feel like it was a big 15. I mean, he just any big shot that they needed, like a dagger or a three to really just push Mavericks over the edge where they're just like, oh man. Klay Thompson was making that shot. I mean, there was a couple of times where Klay Thompson was double teamed. He faked a shot. There was a guy who was wide open in the corner, and Klay was like, "Nah, I'm going to make this." And he just did a fadeaway shot, and he made it every single time. There's like 2 or 3 plays of that. And I was like, dude, pass the ball. But anyway, he made them, so what do I know? But really was impressed with Kayvon Looney as well. He had a really good game. He was a big factor. I thought he was almost going to be unplayable with the Mavericks, but he came up huge. So he definitely played his way into at least starting another game. So we'll see how that goes. But Luka wasn't fantastic. But again, they were kind of on short rest. They just came off of a really intense series against the Suns. Luka ended up with 20 points. Spencer Dinwiddie was 17. That was a real quiet 17. Jalen Brunson, I felt like it was the third quarter, he had a couple of really big baskets, but they just didn't capitalize on any momentum he was trying to give them. Dwight Powell is I think it's almost unplayable at this point. Cleaver was absolute trash today too. So the Mavericks, they're a good team, but I feel like we just saw what their limitations are. We just saw it right here. And this is why I like the Warriors, because not only are the Warriors this incredible shooting team, they do have a really good defense. I know you were saying their defense isn't that good. It actually, I think, is better than what we think. I just think the Grizzlies were that good. I think they had so many shooters on their team versus the Mavericks, who don't really have that many guys who you can rely on. I mean, they're relying on Reggie Bullock, who, I mean, is fine, but he's not going to hit every three every time, you know? So for me, this is what Warriors are capable of. They're a team that they will pour threes on you, and they will demand you to make a tough shot every single time.
Yeah.
They're a very good defensive team. They're a very small defensive team, and they make it rough on you. So, I'm not going to go as far to say the Warriors are going to sweep, but I would probably say Warriors in 6 just to be on the safe side. But
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised if it were a 5-game series.
No, I would agree. I think it's going to be Warriors in 6. I think part of the reason why the Mavericks didn't really have that great of a game, I do think the 2 days did help them a little bit, but I think too is you're right. Warriors defense in this game was a little bit more tenacious than what we're used to. I don't necessarily think that it was because the Grizzlies had more shooters. I think Grizzlies just were so physical that the Warriors didn't want to go physicality. They had to beat them by spreading the ball a little bit. And essentially, also too, if John Morant didn't get injured, maybe it gets pushed to 7, and who knows what happens after that series. But nevertheless, so I think addition to game 1 between the Mavs and Warriors, you did have Luka trying to penetrate the lane, and Warriors did a really good job of doing a lot of help defense. I see Draymond strip the ball several times from him. Steph Curry got his hand in Luka's handles for a little bit. I think Klay Thompson's size does kind of negate Reggie Bullock, and obviously he's a 3 specialist. But as he's a former Laker, you chase him off the line, and he doesn't really turn into much more of a playmaker than that. So, I do think that Dallas will bounce back. I do anticipate that they do probably defend home court just because the Warriors on the road aren't the greatest, especially when it comes to calls by the refs. And of course, Draymond Green's probably going to get into some sort of trouble, technical foul, something. I mean, it's almost inevitable.
That's an easy bet. That's just such an easy bet.
And I do think Jordan,
man.
Yeah, I do think Jordan Poole will probably not have such a great game. I mean, he did have a good 19, and he was a little bit more under control than when he was in the Grizzlies game when Mike Brown was coaching. And I do think, though, that he will have some bad games. Steph Curry, I think, will actually get a little bit better just because I don't think the Mavericks don't have anybody that can really hold down Steph. But I also don't think the Warriors have really anybody that can hold down Luka. I think Luka will figure out a way how to get his buckets from this defense, considering he did the same thing to Phoenix. And I did think that Phoenix was a really good defense. I mean, statistically, a top 10 defense in the league. And Luka, I think, because he just ISO'd Chris Paul or he isolated a poor defender, he was able to take advantage. I think, obviously, having some film now to look at the games, studying them, I think he will create better shots and get more buckets. But now the question is, can Bronson step up? Can Dinwiddie step up? Who else can the Mavs rely on to help Luka, take down the Warriors? Because essentially the Warriors have 5 players that at any given night could be the leading scorer of that night and the focal point of the offense. And the offense is so universal that you can make Steph as the primary shooter, then turn it into Klay as primary, then turn it into Jordan Poole or Andrew Wiggins. Like, you have so many interchanging parts. Or, ironically, you can have Draymond be a number 2 option because he scored a lot of points in the closeout game between Grizzlies just because he penetrated the lane, he took the shots in the paint, and that's what they gave him. And the Warriors could just beat you in several ways, and the Mavs probably won't be able to match that, but need to find some offensive power that is going to be able to keep them up. And then Luka, in the closing moments, could win them the games, but I don't see it going more than 6 games respectively. And again, that could just be because of home court for Dallas. But I do think that the Warriors are overwhelmingly favorites in this series. But I do think, though, that a good point to say, though, is Luka is possibly one extra piece away, whether that is an interior, 4 or 5 stretch player that can shoot the ball or stretch the court a little bit, stretch the play. I mean, imagine if DeAndre Ayton gets signed to Dallas for some reason, some sign and trade. Yeah. That would be a huge help for him because you need somebody who can get interior and stretch the floor and give space for Luka. That would be a really good one, especially with Dinwiddie and Bronson if they don't have to give up any pieces for like a sign and trade deal, hypothetical again. Mm-hmm. But I think I would agree with you on the Warriors standpoint, but also too, Mavs are not a team to scoff at, and this could be the start of something crazy for them with Luka for the upcoming years.
Bye.